right, everybody. Welcome to, the lighting here, not so bueno. Lighting here, much better. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm outdoors again today because, well, I just like being outdoors better. And I'm sideways, less new selfie stick purchased. Also ready to go. Making one little tweak here. Sorry about that. There we go. All you see is my hand, I know, but now I have turned. Awesome. Sound check. Sound check. Everybody hear me okay? If anybody sees or can respond to that and say I sound good, that would be awesome. I see a bunch of people joining, nobody commenting yet. If somebody can tell me I sound good, I'd appreciate it. Yes, Laurie says she can hear me, and I'm bored sitting down, so I'm going to stand up. All right, so here we go. Welcome. First thing, I'm going to remind everybody right now, thank you, Mike Balbus, right now, if everybody would go down onto your screen and click that little button that says share. Let's do that in the beginning of this. I would appreciate it. Share it with everybody. And as we get going, what do I got going on here today? I've got my, this is a not a national park shirt, by the way. I usually wear national park shirts, right? But today I'm wearing my Machu Picchu shirt. So today's shirt is Machu Picchu. Not national parks, but still a really cool spot, so it's part of the t-shirt collection. So let's get into it. We got 7, 8 people viewing right now. Hopefully everybody is clicking that little share button right down there. I would appreciate it. Thank you very much. We are talking this week, as I roll around, hopefully I won't get too shaded. I'm in the little courtyard area of an office right now, so I'm using their space. Let's get into it and talk about getting outside of your comfort zone. That is the topic for this week. Next week, I've actually already put out there the event is that we're going to be talking about video messaging, but we're not. I'm changing it, so when we get off of this, I'm going to change it. Next week is going to be about the importance of lead follow-up. The week after that, we will then get into video messaging. But this next week is going to be about the importance of lead follow-up. Today, though, is about getting outside of your comfort zone. Why, how, why it's so important. Okay, so here's what I want everybody to do. This is the first piece of homework for everybody. The first piece of homework was click the little share button. Second piece of homework for everybody is, as I'm talking here for a second, I want everybody to write in right now. As I'm talking, you write, what's the number one thing you know you should be doing that you're not doing because you're afraid of it, worried about it, don't know how to do it, it scares you, it's outside of your comfort zone. What's the number one thing? So while I'm talking, I want everybody to share right now, and I'll know if you participate or not, everybody, so please do so. What's the number one thing that you are not doing that's outside of your comfort zone that you know you probably should be doing? Okay, so why is that important? There's that old saying, right? There's that old saying that everything you've ever wanted in life lies just outside of your comfort zone. Just get outside of your comfort zone. Push boundaries. Stretch just a little bit. Asking more than 3 times to sign on the dotted line, says Laurie. Get outside your comfort zone. Push just a little bit. Stretch yourself to do something that is not ordinary. You know what another word for not ordinary is? Extraordinary. Okay, so if you get outside of your comfort zone by doing something that's not a habit or that's not ordinary, you have the ability to do something extraordinary. If you just rely on doing what you already do, you know, you're comfortable with, all of that stuff, then guess what? You're just doing the ordinary. You're just doing the average. So by getting outside of our comfort zone, it gives us the opportunity to be extraordinary. Now, check this out. Oftentimes, well, it says personal contact. For those of you who just joined in, please right now share this with everybody else who's on Facebook, and please share with the rest of the group who's participating what you don't do that's outside of your comfort zone. Type that in right now. Okay, so here's the thing, guys and gals. When you sometimes try things that are outside of your comfort zone and you shoot for extraordinary, guess what happens? you fail. Sometimes it doesn't work. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you that I would bet more often it doesn't work than it does work. And that's just the nature of the beast. Frank says closing more than 2 times and dancing. All right. Frank, maybe if you danced more, you'd make more sales. I don't know. Maybe that's the case, right? Calling expired multiple times, says Mike. He only wants to do it once, apparently, or once or twice. Doesn't like to keep calling them and bugging them. Okay, so here's the thing. Like I said, if you try it, you're going to fail more than likely. I think there's a greater likelihood that you're going to fail trying to do it than you're going to succeed. And that's why we don't want to do these things, I think. If we knew it was going to work, and if we were comfortable with it, we'd probably be more apt to do it. But because we're afraid of failing, we're afraid of getting outside of our comfort zone, then we never give ourselves the opportunity to be extraordinary. We settle for ordinary, average, maybe even mediocre. Knocking on doors, expired. Matt, expired is good. I've never even tried. Knocking on doors, says John Fell. So by risking failure, you give yourself the opportunity for massive success. And the best way to risk failure is by doing things outside of your comfort zone, taking risks, being bold, kind of just faking it, winging it, living on a prayer like Bon Jovi, right? Okay, so let me ask you this question. Everybody think about what you just wrote. And for those of you who participated, awesome job. Thank you. For those of you who didn't, that's probably an example of getting outside of your comfort zone right there that you didn't do because you didn't write in. And why not? Think about that. Why didn't you just type your thing? How uncomfortable would it have been? And since you didn't mention anything, maybe you can't get any advice for it. Like, geez, what would it have really cost you to participate just then? Think about that. That's a great example of like how silly it is sometimes to not get outside of our comfort zones. All right, so you get outside your comfort zone. You try this thing. You fail. I want you to think about this. For all the things that you guys and gals just wrote down, if you close more than 3 times, if you close more than 2 times, if you had more personal contact, if you went out door knocking more, if you went after expireds at all, Matt, or went after them more often, Mike, right? All those things that you guys and gals just wrote down. Ask yourself this question. How much worse would your life have been if you had gone out and done that thing? You had knocked more often, called more often, closed more often, whatever you just wrote down. How much worse off would your life be if you did it and you failed? How much worse would your life be? Would you have any less money? Would you have any less transactions? Would you have any less friends? Would you have any less loved ones? Would you have any less great things going on in your life that aren't even... How much worse would your life be if you did that thing that you just wrote? I think, and you guys will have to tell me, I think the answer, 99.9%. Usually I use the 90% rule. Everybody knows. But man, in this case, I think it's closer to 99.9. I don't think your life would be any worse. Well, it says 0. I don't think, Carlos says no difference. Your life would be no worse if you tried that shit and it didn't work. Like, you know what? Risk it. I mean, what's the downside? You're already not going to get the business you're not getting? What's the downside? Someone's going to tell you no and it's going to hurt your feelings? Toughen up. What's the downside? There's practically no difference. There's 0 change to your life, I believe, if you take that risk and fail. There's a few risks that you probably don't want to try in life. You probably don't want to try jumping off a bridge and seeing if you'll live. Because if you fail in that exercise, it's probably going to lead to death. You probably don't want to take all your money and go to the roulette table and bet on black. Because if you lose, you're going to be homeless. There are some instances where taking risks is just a bad, stupid idea. But for the most part, getting outside of your comfort zone in this business, getting outside of your comfort zone in what you do on a daily basis and trying new things and taking those types of risks, it's going to affect you negatively, not at all. There's like no option for things to go worse than they're going for something to not be as good as it could be. It could only get better if it works. So why don't you get outside of your comfort zone? This is everyone's opportunity right now. First, if you haven't shared it, please share it. Second, everybody type again. And everybody meaning like all of you watching right now. Everybody type again and tell me, why are you afraid of doing those things that you all just typed? Why are you afraid of getting outside of your comfort zone? Why don't you do those things? I'm going to stretch this out just a little bit if I can. Apparently I can. This is as long as the selfie stick gets. Bought a new stick since I broke my last one on one of these. Why don't you get outside of your comfort zone? Why do those things since you know that it doesn't affect you? That's a really loud car. Sorry about that. Why, if you know it doesn't affect you negatively, what are you so afraid of? And Laurie wrote, sorry guys, getting old, I got to get close to the screen. Worried that they might not sign if I'm too pushy. Mike Bulbus being rejected again. Okay, thank you, you two. Why are you so afraid? Everybody else. I overthink it. Walt says I overthink it. I think that's what a lot of people do, is we rationalize and think and plan and go through all this stuff in our heads, and by the time it's time to do it, we're just mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted, or the opportunity to do it's past. We just don't even have time to do it anymore. I do not have a correct answer for the question I'm unsure about it. So she's like, I'm going to still do what Dan says and participate by typing. I just don't really have anything good to type, but I'm not going to be one of those guys who doesn't type. Good job. I like it. I don't see results quickly enough, says Carlos. I'm not sure my skill level is there, John Fell. That's a really good one, by the way. Of everything that everyone's typed, I mean, all of them have been good, don't get me wrong, but that's a really good one, John Fell. I'm not sure my skill level is there, right? And John specifically was door knocking, right? He says, outside of my comfort zone is going and knocking on the doors. And so I'm not sure if my skill level is there to go out and knock on those doors. And I think a lot of people watching this, whether you're live right now or you're watching this after the fact, because I have 15 live right now. I think I had like 400-ish, 500-ish views of this over the course of last week. So there'll be a lot more people watching this after the 15 that are on right now, correct? Man, I'm not sure my skill level is there. I think a lot of people can relate to that. But here's my challenge to you, John. How do we increase the skill level? By doing the activity. How are you going to get better at door knocking? How are you going to increase your skill level at door knocking if you're not, ding, 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 out there door knocking, right? You've got to go out there and do it and suck at it and verbally vomit on people at their door and go through the torture. That sounds great, doesn't it? I'm like really pumping this up. But you've got to do all that stuff in order to get better at it. You've got to go through that process. Yeah, it's a catch-22, isn't it, John? You've got to go through that process of sucking in order to improve. That's just how it works. You can't just get better at something through osmosis. Okay? Norvell said self-doubt. Just went off my screen. I have no idea how to get it back. But Norvell said self-doubt keeps him in his comfort zone. Noel says being perceived as being too pushy and I might turn off a lead. Right? And there's that old saying by the old man that says no one's ever lost a lead because they were really good at following up. So that's probably a skill level, guys and gals, of being too pushy versus being skilled enough. So perhaps you close too often. I know that's kind of a weird statement, but maybe you close too often with not enough skill, so it doesn't come across right, and it comes across as just being pushy. Perhaps if you were more highly skilled, then that wouldn't be the perception, and perhaps you wouldn't feel. Now, how do you get better at that? You've got to go push. And as you're pushing, and you're seeing what they like, as you're pushing, being pushy, and you're seeing what they don't like and how it's kind of turning them off, you learn from that. I'm not really concerned about the presentation you're on. I'm not really concerned about that particular client. I'm concerned about the next 100. Because if we can learn something from this presentation of being too pushy and, I took it too far and I could see that kind of turned them off when I did that, so I know I can't do that next time. And for the next 100 people now, when you go on that presentation, you know where that line's been drawn, and you know how to dodge it, and you know that thing's going to be swinging at you, and so you've got to deal with it better. Now, the only way to do that is to maybe go out and fail a little bit on that presentation and learn from it, but man, how many more is that going to give you once you've learned that lesson? But if you never learn that lesson, you can never do anything. You're just stuck, right? You're just like quicksanded in place, and you're never going to get to improve. All right? What else? Comfort zone. Opportunity real quick. We're about 10 minutes left here. Who else has some questions about comfort zone that I could answer? Or even better, other people who are on right now can type back and help answer as well. Because I am not the end-all, be-all, information source-all out there. We've got, you know, a bunch of other 15, 16 other great people here that can probably share as well as just me. So who's got questions about what's going on in your world of comfort zone and how maybe you can make some changes, make some improvements? This is an opportunity. I'm gonna switch hands. My right hand got tired. All right, who else has some questions? Now, again, by the fact that a lot of you aren't typing right now, I just want to use this as an example while some of you are hopefully getting ready to type. This is an example of being afraid to get outside of your comfort zone. You're in a setting with 16 other people and myself who are all here to learn, share, specifically on the topic of getting outside your comfort zone. And you have an opportunity to pick the brains of some fantastic, I don't know everybody who's on here right now, but I know Laurie's on here, and I know Laurie's going to do somewhere between 60 and 70 transactions this year. And I know if I was an agent trying to figure out how to do more production, I'd probably want to be asking somebody like her, hey, how do you get outside of your comfort zone? She's probably got some good tips. Norvell, when you're selling, how did you overcome it? Oh, when I was selling, how did I overcome getting outside my comfort zone? And Matt, got to get psyched up and go to the mental motivational gym. Great question, Norvell. All right, so when I was selling, how did I get outside of my comfort zone? That's an interesting question, and I'm going to tell you something. I'm actually, here it is, announcement. Book number 3 might be out before book number 2. Because book number 3, I've determined, is a very cool daily planner, which I think a lot of people struggle with, and keeping the track for the day and keeping disciplined and motivated and focused. And so I've written a 3rd book. It's kind of like a planner journal. And one of the things that's on that day is a question. And the question is, what will I do today to get outside of my comfort zone? Now, the reason I wrote it in the journal and the reason I wrote it on the planner is it's the exact same thing, Norvell, that I thought to myself and I wrote on my own little notepad each and every single day when I was selling real estate. As a matter of fact, it's something that even today I still continue to write. I'm reading this before it goes away. Nothing to be afraid of. Most people are very friendly. Comfort zone is where you are. If you're not comfortable, you'll change it. From our good friend Neil Schwartz, right? So I actually make it a point, Norvell, and I did when I was selling, and I do today. And that's why it's a part of my new journal, is I ask myself, what am I going to do? What's the one thing I'm going to do to get outside of my comfort zone today? And here's the deal, because if I do it today and I do it tomorrow, by the 3rd day, it's not outside of my comfort zone. It's something I know how to do. It's not something that scares me. It's something that I know how to implement. It's a technology that I understand. It's all these other things. I keep going back to my right hand. My hand's killing me. So by getting outside of my comfort zone daily, that helps. And that's what I did when I was selling. That's what I do now when I'm strategizing, when I'm speaking, when I'm doing team building for Melody. So I ask myself this question every day to make sure each and every day I'm pushing some boundaries. I'm getting uncomfortable. I'm trying new things. So that would be a great piece of advice if you were asking me, what should I do to get outside my comfort zone? Each day, wake up and identify one thing that would just totally suck. Like, I'm so scared to do this thing. I don't want to do this thing. It's going to be like, I'm going to be so embarrassed. People are going to make fun of me. I don't even know how to use it. I've been making excuses about it. That is the thing you should do that day. identify something each and every single day that pushes you outside of your comfort zone, and soon those things that were uncomfortable will become ordinary, and soon you will start experiencing extraordinary results because of all the things you are doing and learning. Laurie says, I'm going to begin practicing my closing skills, right? Yes, practicing your closing skills should definitely not be outside of your comfort zone, especially if you're practicing them alone or with you, for instance. I know you're just practicing with Carlos. It's like the most conducive setting to learning there is. So, everybody, there's an idea. Get outside of your comfort zone by each and every day making a point to do so. James McCarthy down there in Murrieta. The hardest conversation you need to have that day, make it the one you do first. That's a great, you know, if you're like, oh man, I got to call 10 people today, but this one person, I think they're going to yell at me. I think it's going to go sideways. If I call them, they might cancel the listing with me. They might cancel my escrow, and we put it off, and we put it off. And of course, it's like an infection, right? Imagine that it's just a blister right now. Like that call is a blister. But we put it off, and we put it off, and we put it off, and it festers, and it gets worse, and it gets worse because we don't do anything with it, we don't treat it, and soon it turns into an infection, right? And that's what we do sometimes with the hard things. So starting your day with the hardest things, that's a great point. Okay, starting your day with the hardest things to do, that's a really good thing to do. Identifying each day something you're going to do to push some boundaries, get outside of your comfort zone, try something new, not be afraid to fail, you know, just go big or go home. And if it doesn't work, remember, ask yourself this question each and every single freaking time. If it doesn't work, other than being a little bit embarrassed, what does it really cost me? What have I lost because I did this thing, tried this thing, experimented with this thing? And 99.9% of the time, the answer is going to be zero, nothing, zilch, not a thing. So ask yourself that question and then realize you have nothing to fear but fear itself. You have nothing at risk except for maybe a little bit of embarrassment. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about, by the way. So even if you can't get over the fact there's nothing to be embarrassed about, that's the worst case scenario. And if you can understand there's nothing to be embarrassed about, then it's literally zero that you have to worry about. All right, everybody? Hang on, I'm going to switch hands. I think we're getting close to the half-an-hour segment. I really like trying to keep these at a half an hour because you guys can all do them at your lunchtime and then get back on with your day. Thank you for tuning in. Couple quick things. Numero uno, next week we're going to be talking about the importance of lead follow-up. And then the week after that, we're going to be talking about video messaging. So right now, the Facebook site says next week is video messaging, and I've changed my mind. The importance of lead follow-up will be next week. If you have not already gotten tickets to attend my Jumpstart, please do so. You can go to bydansmith.com, bydansmith.com, and the tickets are right there on top, conveniently located. If you are active military, retired military, a first responder of any type, let me know, reach out to me, and I will tell you how to get your ticket for free. You can come at no charge. Thank you for your service. For everybody else, if at any point there is a sale, let me know that you saw the sale, right? If you bought your ticket, I'll give you the difference. So you never have to worry about, did I pay too much for my ticket? So, bydansmith.com, go there. If you want to follow me on any social media, it's by Dan Smith, pretty much everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, I'm there. Anything else I want to touch on? Oh, stay tuned today. Pay attention on Facebook. You're probably going to see the posters being released. We've got about 13, maybe 14 speakers lined up already for the Jumpstart. So I'm going to start releasing those posters with those little heads and the silhouettes today. So pay attention today and you'll see those things. And everybody, thank you very much. Please share this on your Facebook pages. Please let everybody know to get involved next week and come on live. I would appreciate it. If you need anything, reach out to me, Dan at bydansmith.com. And other than that, I think that's all I have to talk about today. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day. It's a little overcast here in Southern California, but I am still in shorts, t-shirts, and flip-flops, so I'm a pretty happy guy. And I'll talk to you all soon. All right, have a good one.